Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to Timeless Romance Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more dark aristocratic romance, dangerous secrets, and stories where one mistake binds two lives forever. Now let's begin. The confession was never meant for her ears. That much was clear the moment the Duke of Harrowmere spoke his next words. If the truth ever reaches the crown, he said quietly, I will hang for it. Clara Ellington froze in the shadowed corridor, one hand still wrapped around the door handle she had opened by mistake. She should have turned back. She should have fled. But the candlelight spilling from the study illuminated her reflection in the glass. Pale, startled, already too late, the Duke continued unaware. I did not kill him, he said. But I let him die. Clara's breath caught painfully in her throat. The room was hushed, heavy with the weight of what had just been admitted. A fire crackled low. Papers rustled. Somewhere a man shifted his stance. History will not care, another voice replied. Only the crown will. Clara stepped back. The floor betrayed her. A soft creak echoed through the corridor. Silence fell inside the study. Then, who's there? The Duke demanded. The door opened fully before Clara could stop herself. Light flooded the corridor. Duke Sebastian Ashford stood at the threshold, tall and immaculately dressed despite the late hour. Dark hair brushed back, eyes sharp with authority and something colder beneath it. His gaze locked onto her. For one suspended moment, neither moved. Then he spoke. How long? He asked calmly. Have you been standing there? Clara swallowed. Long enough. The second man in the room stiffened. Your Grace. Leave us, Sebastian said without looking away from her. But now, the door closed behind the man with finality. Sebastian stepped closer, his presence filling the narrow corridor, his voice low and controlled. You overheard something you were never meant to hear. Yes, Clara said honestly. Do you understand what it means? She met his gaze, her pulse roaring in her ears. It means you're in danger. His lips curved faintly. Not a smile. It means you are. Clara Ellington had come to Harrowmere as a lady's companion. Invisible. Replaceable. Useful precisely because no one paid her much attention. She had never intended to wander the West Wing at midnight. She had only been searching for the library, her one comfort in a house that thrummed with secrets. Now she stood alone with the most dangerous man in the realm. Sebastian studied her with unnerving calm. You have two choices, he said. Her fingers clenched in her skirts. I'm Lysemin. You can leave this house tonight, he continued, and pray you never repeat what you heard. And the other? He stepped closer. Or, he said softly, you can stay, under my protection, and accept that from this moment forward, your fate is bound to mine. Clara's heart hammered. You're asking me to become your prisoner. No, Sebastian de Blaise. I'm offering you my name. Her breath left her in a sharp exhale. Marriage. A legal union, he corrected. One that renders your silence permanent. She stared at him. You'd marry a woman you barely know? I know enough, he said. You didn't scream. You didn't run. And you haven't tried to bargain. Yet, she murmured. A flicker of something, approval perhaps, crossed his eyes. You would be safe, he added. Respected. Untouchable. And you? She asked. What do you gain? Sebastian held her gaze without flinching. My freedom. The truth of it settled heavy between them. You'd sacrifice your choice, she said quietly, to protect your secret. No, he replied. I'd sacrifice it to protect you from it. Silence pressed in. Clara had never been anyone's first choice. She had lived her life between doors, useful, polite, overlooked. Now a duke was offering her everything to ensure her silence. If I refuse, she asked, what happens to me? Sebastian's voice dropped. I won't let you leave knowing what you know. The words were not a threat. They were a fact. Clara closed her eyes. When she opened them, her voice was steady. I will not be forced. Sebastian inclined his head slightly. Good. Neither will I. He extended his hand. Choose. The wedding took place before dawn. No guests. No celebration. Only a priest sworn to silence. a legal document sealed with wax, and vows spoken in low voices beneath the stone arches of Haramir's private chapel. Clara said the words with shaking hands. Sebastian said them like a man signing his fate. When it was done, the priest bowed deeply. "Your Grace," he said to her. The title felt unreal. Later, in the quiet of the ducal chambers, Clara stood by the window, staring out at the mist-covered grounds. "This doesn't make us lovers," she said. Sebastian loosened his gloves. "No. And you don't own me." "No," he agreed. "But the world believes I do." She turned to face him. "Then understand this. I am not your shield. I am your equal." Something unreadable crossed his face. "Good," he said quietly. "Because I don't kneel easily." The court reacted exactly as Sebastian had predicted. Shock, curiosity, suspicion. A duke marrying a nobody overnight invited questions, but it also silenced them. Clara learned quickly how to stand beside him. She spoke little, observed much, listened when nobles whispered too freely in her presence. She learned the weight of her title, and Sebastian watched her, not possessively but attentively. "You don't ask questions," he said one evening. "I already know enough," she replied. He studied her for a long moment. "You're not afraid of me." She met his gaze. "I was. Now I'm cautious." "That's worse," he said faintly. Days turned into weeks. Their marriage remained unconsummated, not from distance but restraint. Sebastian never crossed the line she didn't invite him to approach. One night, Clara finally asked, "Why haven't you touched me?" His answer was immediate. "Because I didn't want you to feel claimed before you chose to be." Her breath stuttered. "And if I never do? Then I will protect you anyway," he said. "Because I already bound you to danger." Something softened in her chest. The secret did not stay buried. Never did. A royal investigator arrived at Harrowmere unannounced, bearing the crown seal. Sebastian received him calmly. Clara stood beside her husband, her hand resting lightly on his arm. The investigator's gaze lingered on her. "Your Grace," he said, "we have questions regarding the late Duke of Fenwick." Sebastian didn't blink. "And I have answers," he replied. Clara felt the tension coil. That night, she confronted Sebastian in private. "You told me the truth," she said. "All of it." "Yes. You didn't kill him." "No. But you could have saved him." Sebastian's jaw tightened. "Yes." She nodded slowly. "Then the crown will decide." He met her gaze. "And you?" "I already have," she said. The investigation dragged on. Letters. Interviews. Pressure. Sebastian remained composed. But Clara saw the cost. One evening, she found him standing alone in the chapel. "If this ends badly," he said quietly, "you'll be free." She shook her head. "I didn't marry you to leave." His voice roughened. "You don't owe me loyalty." "I owe myself truth," she replied. "And I choose you." That was the moment. Not the vows. Not the title. That choice. The crown ruled in Sebastian's favor. The confession remained buried. The danger passed. But something else had changed. That night, Sebastian came to Clara's chamber. "I will not ask," he said. "But I will not deny you." She stepped closer. "I'm not your silence," she said softly. "I'm your wife." He touched her then, slow, reverent, controlled. Not claiming. Choosing. Love did not arrive like fire. It arrived like trust. Built. Earned. Unbreakable. And Clara Ellington, once invisible, once overlooked, had become the woman who heard a duke's darkest confession, and chose to stand beside him anyway. The court did not forget Clara Ellington, nor did it forgive her so easily. In the weeks following the crown's ruling, invitations arrived at Harrowmere almost daily: balls, dinners, hunts, private audiences disguised as courtesies. Each carried the same unspoken question. Who was she really? Sebastian declined most of them. Clara noticed. "You're isolating us," she said one evening as they dined alone, the long table lit only by candles and restraint. "I'm protecting you," he replied. She set her fork down carefully. "From them or from yourself?" His hand stilled. "You stood beside me when the crown itself questioned my honor," he said quietly. I won't let the court turn you into a spectacle. I'm already one, Clara said softly. A woman who married a duke overnight. A woman who knows his secrets and kept them. Sebastian studied her across the table. And does that frighten you? No, she answered honestly. Being hidden does. Silence followed, not strained but thoughtful. The next invitation Sebastian accepted was the most dangerous of all. A royal ball. The night Clara entered the grand ballroom at Blackthorn Palace on Sebastian's arm, conversation faltered. She felt it immediately. The weight of hundreds of eyes, the sharp curiosity, the disbelief. The Duke's wife. The woman who had appeared from nowhere. Sebastian's grip tightened subtly at her waist. Steady, he murmured. They'll circle like vultures if they sense weakness. She lifted her chin. Then let them see teeth. A flicker of pride crossed his face. They did not dance at first. They were approached. Questions disguised as compliments. Curtsies laced with calculation. Men who spoke to Sebastian while appraising Clara, as if she were a chess piece whose value they had misjudged. And how are you finding life as a duchess? One lady asked sweetly. Clara smiled. Far less lonely than expected. Sebastian glanced down at her surprised. Then amused. It happened during the second set. A man Clara did not recognize stepped directly into their path. Duke Ashford, he said, bowing. May I speak freely? Sebastian's expression cooled. You may speak carefully. The man's gaze slid to Clara. Is it true your wife overheard your confession? The room seemed to contract. Sebastian's hand tightened. Clara stepped forward before he could speak. It's true, she said evenly. I heard it. I understood it. And I chose. The man scoffed lightly. Chose advantage, I imagine. Sebastian moved. But Clara placed her hand on his chest. No, she said, voice calm and carrying. I chose a man who told me the truth when lies would have been safer. A hush rippled outward. You're fortunate, the man said coolly, that the crown ruled in your favor. Sebastian's voice cut like steel. You're fortunate my wife is kinder than I am. The man withdrew. Slowly, deliberately. Only then did Sebastian look at Clara. Not as his shield, not as his secret, but as his equal. You didn't have to do that, he said. I did, she replied. You knelt for me once. Tonight I stood for you. The dance began shortly after. When Sebastian finally led her onto the floor, the room watched as though witnessing a verdict being rewritten. He did not dominate the dance. He matched her. When the music faded, he did not release her immediately. I was wrong, he said quietly. She met his gaze. About. Thinking love could survive secrecy, he admitted. Thinking I could control the cost of my choices. Her expression softened. Not forgiving too easily but understanding. You're learning, she said. So are you, he replied. You're no longer invisible. No, Clara said. And I won't be again. That night, back at Harrowmere, the distance between them finally broke. Not in haste. Not in hunger. In honesty. Sebastian stood before her, stripped of title and armor. I won't ask you to stay silent again, he said. Not for me. Not for power. She stepped closer. Then don't ask me to be less than your equal. I never will. When he kissed her, it was different than before. No restraint born of fear. No distance born of obligation. Only choice. Later, as dawn crept across the windows, Clara rested against him, listening to his steady breathing. I heard your confession, she said quietly. And it bound us. Sebastian brushed his thumb along her shoulder. You chose to stay. Yes, she said. And now you'll have to live with that. A rare smile touched his lips. I intend to. The court would remember many things about Duke Sebastian Ashford. His power. His secrets. His near fall from grace. But they would remember Clara Ellington for something far rarer. She was the woman who heard a duke's darkest truth and made him brave enough to never hide again.